My name is Wilma. Standing at the podium of the press conference room, I'm surrounded by the thunderous applause. The room is packed with faculty, students, staff, and a significant media presence. I spot my family in the back corner, their faces a mix of shock and overwhelming emotions. It's a moment I've worked my entire adult life for, yet it's also a moment that brings a flood of memories, especially of the years when my family failed to see my true worth. 8 years ago, when I was 26, I started my PhD at Stanford. Meanwhile, my older brother Leo completed his residency at Harvard Medical School, and my sister Vivian made partner at a top-tier law firm in San Francisco. I was the youngest in the Thompson family, and in my parents' eyes, I was the one who just couldn't seem to leave school and get a real job. At that year's Christmas dinner, Uncle Frank, shaking his head, said, "When are you going to start making real money? How long will you be a student?" I tried to explain that I was also a teaching assistant for graduate courses and a research associate at a well-known research institute. But my father, a no-nonsense man who valued practicality above all, just waved his hand dismissively. "Those are just junior positions. There's no stability, no future in them," he said. From that moment on, I learned to keep my mouth shut about my career around my family. It was easier than fighting to be understood. While they celebrated Leo's achievements as a rising star in the medical field and Vivian's success in the legal world, I focused on my academic path in silence. As the years passed, I worked tirelessly. I published 2 books on educational reform, books that were well received in academic circles and used in courses across the country. I also advised 4 university presidents on strategic planning for institutional development. Over the last 14 months, I'd been quietly groomed for a position that would be a game changer in American higher education. But my family still introduced me as Wilma, who just works at the university. They had no inkling that I was the president-elect of Stanford University, pending tonight's emergency board vote and public announcement. The emergency had been in the air for 3 days. President Charles Montgomery, who'd led Stanford for 15 years, suffered a severe heart attack during a board meeting on Tuesday. He was stable but would need a long-term recuperation. The board had been in a state of high alert ever since. Tonight, I had to endure Friday night dinner with my family before the big moment. As I arrived at my parents' house in Palo Alto, which was just a short drive from the Stanford campus, I could already hear the lively chatter inside. My cousin Nicole and her husband Derek, a tech entrepreneur, were already there. "Wilma is always so quiet about her job," my mother was saying to Nicole. "She's so humble about her little university gig." I bit my tongue. Little was an understatement for a university with an $18 billion endowment and over 22,000 students. I just smiled politely and continued setting the table. Derek, always one to make small talk while checking his stocks on his phone, asked, "What do you actually do at the university?" "It's mostly administrative work, dealing with academic affairs," I replied. As the provost for the past 2 years, a position my family still didn't fully grasp, I was in charge of all academic programs, faculty recruitment and promotion, and educational policy. But they seemed to think I was just a glorified office worker. "Like scheduling classes?" Derek asked. "Among other things," I said diplomatically. Soon after, Leo arrived with his wife Maya. Both were still in their hospital scrubs from their long shifts at Stanford Hospital. Leo, now a well-respected cardiothoracic surgeon, was the pride of the family. "Sorry we're late," Leo said, giving Mom a kiss on the cheek. "An emergency surgery ran overtime. You know how it is." "Of course, saving lives is the most important thing," my father said warmly. I nearly laughed. I'd been in endless crisis meetings for 3 days, handling a presidential transition that would impact thousands of students, faculty, and staff. But in their eyes, my work seemed so insignificant compared to Leo's surgeries. Vivian was the last to arrive, full of her San Francisco-style energy despite the long drive. She'd made partner at 33, and our parents had thrown a huge party that lasted an entire weekend. When I was appointed provost at 32, Mom just said, "That's nice, dear," and asked if I got better dental insurance. Finally, everyone was seated at the dinner table. The usual family chit-chat started. Nicole talked about their new vacation home in Lake Tahoe, Derek boasted about his latest tech investment success, Leo described a particularly complex heart surgery he'd performed that day, and Vivian shared updates on a high-profile corporate case her firm was handling. Then Uncle Frank, as if just remembering I was there, asked, "Wilma, still at the university?" "Yes," I replied. "Must be nice having a stable job, even if the pay isn't very high," he said. I made $520,000 a year as provost, but I just nodded. Aunt Linda chimed in, "Wilma has always been the practical one. Not as flashy as Leo or Vivian, but reliable. There's value in that." Mom patted my hand and said, "She's very modest. She could explain all that techie university stuff, but it's probably too boring for us." Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Eleanor Parker, the chair of the Board of Trustees. "The board meeting starts at 8 p.m. The press conference is at 9 p.m. Are you ready?" I quickly typed back, "Ready. See you at 8. My father, without looking up, said, "No phones at the dinner table," even though Derek had been on his phone all evening, and Leo had answered 2 calls from the hospital. "Sorry," I said, putting my phone away. Vivian asked, "So, Wilma, anything new at work?" "There have been some significant leadership changes in the works," I said carefully. "Is someone retiring?" Mom asked. "Are you getting a new boss?" "Something like that," I replied. Dad finally showed a bit of interest and asked, "Will it affect your position?" "You're not getting laid off, are you?" "The economy is so unstable right now." "I'm not getting laid off," I assured him. "In fact, my responsibilities are expanding." Aunt Linda perked up. "A promotion? That's wonderful. What's your new title going to be?" "We're announcing it tonight," I said. Leo looked surprised. "They make announcements on a Friday night?" "There must be a crisis." "Yes, there is a crisis," I said. Mom's face clouded with worry. "What kind of crisis? Is the university in trouble? Is your job secure?" I took a deep breath. "The university is fine. President Montgomery had a heart attack earlier this week. He's stable, but he'll need a long recovery, so there's a leadership transition happening." Vivian said, "Oh, that's terrible. Are they bringing in someone from outside?" "Those transitions can be a mess." "They're promoting from within," I said quietly. Dad nodded. "Good. At least you won't have to get used to a new management style. Academics can be so finicky." My phone buzzed again. Eleanor's text read, "The media is already here. This is going to be huge. Stanford's first woman president under 40, and the first African-American president in its history. You're making history tonight." I felt my heart race. In just 45 minutes, my life would change completely. Leo asked, "So, who's the new president? Do you know them?" "I know them quite well," I said, taking a sip of water. Mom asked, "Oh, you've worked with them? That's good. Maybe they'll give you a raise." "I imagine they will," I said. Just then, Nicole's phone buzzed. "Oh, a breaking news alert about Stanford. She must be incredibly accomplished. Probably has multiple advanced degrees, years of high-level leadership experience, and major publications." "Probably," I agreed. My phone buzzed again. This time it was from Professor David Thompson, the Dean of the School of Humanities and Sciences. The faculty senate just got the news. The whole campus is buzzing. "Congratulations, Madam President." "Well deserved, Wilma." Dad said more firmly this time, "Put your phone away. Whatever work emergency you have, it can wait until after dinner." I took a deep breath and said slowly, I think I should explain what's going on at the university. Mom interrupted, honey, we don't need all the administrative details. It's probably very complicated. I'm the new president, I said simply. The dining room fell dead silent. Leo finally said, what? The board is voting to appoint me as Stanford's president tonight at 8 o'clock, and there'll be a public announcement at 9 o'clock, I said. Vivian laughed. Wilma, this isn't funny. The news said it's the first woman under 40 and the first African American president. That's me, I said. I'm age. I've been provost for 2 years. Before that, I was the dean of academic affairs. I've been at Stanford for 8 years, moving up through the ranks. Dad repeated, provost? What exactly is a provost? It's the second highest position in the university, I explained. I'm in charge of all academic programs, faculty hiring and promotion, educational policy, research projects, and institutional planning. Usually, the provost is a leading candidate for the presidency in such situations. Mom's face went pale. You've been. But you never told us. We thought you were just a junior staffer. I know, I said gently. I've tried to explain over the years, but it seemed easier to let you think what you wanted. Nicole, still looking at her phone, said, it says here the new president published 2 influential books on educational reform and has advised several university presidents. Is that you? Yes, I said. My first book came out 5 years ago, and the second one 2 years ago. They're used in graduate programs across the country. Aunt Linda said faintly, you wrote books? Academic press publications, I said. Not bestsellers, but they have an impact in educational policy circles. Derek was quickly scrolling through his phone. Holy cow, Wilma Thompson, Stanford Provost. Your bio is on the university website. It says you have a PhD from Stanford. You're the youngest dean in the university's history, you've secured over $250 million in research grants, and you've been crucial in transforming undergraduate education. That's mostly correct, I confirmed. Leo just stared at me. You're a university president at age? Pending the board vote, but it's just a formality at this point. They've been preparing me for this transition for over a year, I said. Mom's voice cracked. You've known for a year that you were being considered for president? 14 months, actually. President Montgomery planned to retire at the end of his term and recommended me as his successor. The board agreed. We were planning for an orderly transition next September, but his heart attack sped things up. Dad asked, and for the first time, I heard real pain in his voice, why didn't you tell us? I took a deep breath and said, every time I tried to explain what I do, you either thought I was exaggerating or didn't understand my job. When I became dean at age when became dean, you thought I was a department secretary. When I became provost at age when became provost, you thought I was in some event planning role. It was easier to just let you think what you wanted. Vivian said, that's not fair. We would have listened if you'd explained properly. Would you? I asked gently. I tried so many times, but Leo was always the doctor, and you were always the lawyer. I was just the one who was still in school or doing some vague administrative work at the university. The silence in the room was heavy. I looked at my watch. It was 7:45. I need to leave for campus in 5 minutes. The board meeting is at 8 o'clock, and the press conference is at 9 o'clock. You're all welcome to watch the live stream if you want. Mom said, you're leaving? But we haven't finished dinner. I have to, I said. I'm about to become the president of a major research university. This is a bit more urgent than dinner. Dad asked, his voice sounding strange, are you? Are you angry with us? No, I said honestly. I'm not angry. I'm just tired of being invisible. After tonight, I won't be invisible anymore. You can either accept the real me or keep thinking of me as a junior staffer, but the facts won't change. My phone buzzed insistently. It was Eleanor. Where are you? We need you here for a pre-meeting briefing. I stood up. The live stream will be on Stanford's website at 9 p.m. I'd appreciate your support, but I understand if you need time to process this. I grabbed my coat and bag and headed for the door. Behind me, I heard the chaos of my family's voices. Did you know about this? How did we not know? A university president? She's been lying to us. I stopped at the door and turned back. They were all still sitting at the table, looking shocked, confused, and upset. I wasn't lying, I said clearly. I was building my career and living my life. You just weren't paying attention. Then I walked out into the cool evening, leaving behind their assumptions. The drive to campus took just a few minutes. I parked in my reserve's provost spot, which would be changed to president by Monday. I rushed to the Panofsky Auditorium where the Board of Trustees was gathering. Eleanor met me at the door. A 65-year-old seasoned academic, she had been my mentor throughout this process. How was dinner? She asked, seeing my expression. Enlightening, I said. They had no idea. No idea you were provost or that you're about to be the president? Both. They didn't know anything, I said. Eleanor shook her head. Their loss. But that's all about to change. The boardroom was filled with the 28 trustees who governed Stanford. I'd worked closely with them for 2 years as provost, but tonight felt different. They were about to make me their leader. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, Eleanor said, calling the meeting to order. As you know, President Montgomery's health situation forces us to implement our succession plan right away. We've spent the last 14 months preparing for this transition, and Dr. Wilma Thompson has proven herself more than capable of leading this institution. She's been outstanding during this crisis, calm, strategic, and communicative. The faculty trusts her, the students respect her, and the staff appreciates her. She's ready. The vote was unanimous. 28 voices saying I made me the 16th president of Stanford University. Congratulations, President Thompson, Eleanor said, shaking my hand formally. Now, let's tell the world. As I stand here in front of the crowd, looking at my family in the corner, I know that this is just the beginning. They may have been late to the realization of my achievements, but I hope that they're ready to see the real me from now on. I'm about to embark on a new journey, and I'm ready to lead Stanford with everything I've got.